Hello and welcome to episode 062 of the Bit Beacon broadcast. It's November 25th, 2024. Kodax, that's me. I'm here flying solo as usual. And I wanted to jump into what's new in the world of my purchases and arrivals and that kind of thing. So as I mentioned last week, my 30th anniversary PlayStation Pro bundle, and it arrived, I want to say, a day early. It arrived on Wednesday rather than Thursday like it was supposed to, so it was pretty cool to get it a day early. And it was truly the most exquisite and high-end device I have ever unboxed in my life. It was truly a premium experience. I felt like one of the world's elite. Only 12,500 of these things, or 12,300 of these things were produced worldwide. I had number 9,554, I want to say off the top of my head. That's the laser etched number into my PlayStation 5 Pro. And so this PlayStation 5 Pro bundle, the whole console was in that it was in that original PlayStation gray color scheme. It came with the DualSense Edge controller, which is Sony's high-end PlayStation controller that has interchangeable thumbsticks. It has buttons that you can add on the back of the controller in the form of paddles or little nubs. It's a very expensive controller. Normally it retails for $200. Kinda crazy. And it also included a regular DualSense controller, and that comes bundled with every console. And this one was also in a special gray color scheme representing the very first PlayStation console. And then after that, it came with I actually detailed all of this in that original thing way back when. So let me talk a little bit more about the unboxing. I'm not going to do it here. The regular PlayStation 5 consoles that come out now come in these really floppy sleeve boxes, and the unboxing experience is very environmentally friendly, let's put it that way, which is a good thing, I believe. It's very minimalistic. It doesn't have a bunch of frivolous stuff. So that's great for the average consumer, but when you're spending $1,000 on a high-end 30th anniversary bundle that's limited to 12,300 units worldwide, you definitely want more of a premium experience. And let me tell you, it was a premium experience. The way the box slides open, you actually lift up on it, and the console itself is standing in this cool little display stand. And then all the extra stuff is in this box behind it that you slide out of the main unit, I guess you could call it. And then you open that up, and it opens kind of like a clamshell sort of style. And inside, all the little controllers and gadgets and accessories and things are laid out nicely in their own little indented spots in the box. And then from there you also have or I should say inside that bonus box you also have the little goodies that they promise to include, the cable ties, the poster. Yes, I got a poster. So every console has one of 30 different posters included with it. My poster, I'm kind of meh on it. The one that I got on one side, which is this one side that every poster has, is this really cool 30th anniversary kind of logo scheme, which I really do like that side. It has the PlayStation logo, and then it has these sort of silhouettes of every little PlayStation console, device, peripheral kind of laid out to make this cool PlayStation anniversary image. And then on top of that, it has on the other side the one of 30 different posters, and my posters were a close-up shot of the PlayStation 5 Pro 30th anniversary and the PlayStation Slim 30th anniversary, which was not an unlimited, but it was a non-numbered console. So it does this close up, of the middle of the console, and you can see that it's got a shot of the 1 out of 12,300 console, which is pretty cool because I wonder who the heck has that, number 1 console. And then it has a shot of the Slim kind of like juxtaposed next to each other. So, whatever. I've seen some of the other poster designs. They're pretty cool. I'm not really going to do anything with the poster, and unfortunately it's folded too, so they have all these creases all over it. So I don't know what anybody really does with that poster. It would have been nice if they had tubed it and found a place to stick it in the premium packaging. I really think that's something they could have done had they wanted to, but clearly they weren't thinking about that. So yeah, I'm kind of whatever about the poster, but the console itself has been really nice. My favorite thing about switching to the Pro is that it was really easy. I already had an external or an internal M2 drive, which is like the expanded like hard drive that you can add to a PlayStation 5. And I had moved all my games from my original PlayStation 5 into the extra space that I added on, the M2 drive. And I was literally able to just unplug that M2 drive, plug it into my PlayStation 5 Pro, and then log into my new PlayStation 5 Pro, and then everything was already there. I didn't have to re-download all my games, didn't have to reinstall all my games. They were already there, locked and loaded, and I can immediately start playing my games again. Now, I did set up my old PlayStation 5 in my bedroom now, so that way when the wife wants to use the TV in the living room, I can be the hero and be like, sure, no problem. I'll head into the bedroom. And now I got my PlayStation 5 set up in there. I did have to re-download some stuff over there. But it's cool now. I can kind of go back and forth between the two and it not really be a big deal. Of course, I'd rather be playing on the Pro so I get that professional experience. It's not like the PlayStation 5 is some ancient console that can't play games correctly or anything like that. It's more than capable of playing anything. Alright, so last week I talked about the 25th anniversary of Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver version in Japan and how they were doing a special line of merchandise. Back then, I had said I really wanted to try to get one of those jackets, maybe some of the other merchandise, so I gave it an honest attempt last week. I was online, refreshing the pages, and sure enough, right at the start time, which I think was 5 o'clock, the products went up for sale. But immediately, the website, the Japanese Pokemon Center website, was crashing hard. I could not get through checkout. I tried to get through checkout with the backpack and the jackets, and then I would get a message that the one jacket was out of stock, and then I'd have to remove it from my cart, otherwise it wouldn't let me progress, and it would take me minutes to try to progress through or to just remove the item from the cart because the page would constantly crash. I get this message, sorry, the website's not available right now. And then so I'd do it again, and then the next one would be failing, the next jacket, so I had to remove that jacket, and by that time I just had the backpack, and I'm like, alright, if I just get the backpack, that would be pretty cool. Sure enough, could not get the backpack. The backpack was also out of stock. So I just got to the point where I was pretty much giving up, but I was still trying to get through with the backpack. But then once the backpack got out of stock, I was like, forget it. I'm not even going to try to get any of the smaller stuff. It's not even worth my trouble anymore. So yeah, I was an epic and utter failure. I came away with nothing, which I guess is maybe not the worst outcome. It did save me a lot of money. Although I was thinking I would maybe try to sell one of the jackets to pay for the other ones, because since then, some of those jackets have gone for like $400 on eBay. Like, it's absolutely crazy. So, yeah, I'm happy for those that maybe got some of that special 25th anniversary merch, but it was not me. One thing I should note is that on the US Pokemon Center store, they did put up the Shiny Ho-Oh and Shiny Lugia plushes. So if that's something you're into, they are available here on the US Pokemon Center website. For any of the other merchandise, though, still only available in Japan. So, don't get your hopes up, because maybe they might restock it because the demand was crazy. Just how much traffic they must have had to crash the website like that. Maybe they'll do a restock at some point, but it'll take a while for them to produce new sets of merchandise that were done like that, because they were some pretty nice quality stuff. So it'll be months and months before they can probably get more of that on hand. Alright, I did have one game show up this last week kind of from an early Black Friday sale. You know, Black Friday now starts almost 2 weeks in advance. And, you know, I usually feel like those sales are kind of like the fake sales to distract you. But every now and then there is a good deal in there. And so I picked up this game for PlayStation 5 called Sandland. And for those that don't know, Sandland is created by the same guy who created Dragon Ball Z, Akira Toriyama, who died earlier this year, sadly. You know, we did a little piece about his passing in his career and his life on, I don't know, must have been episode 30 something maybe. And so Sandland is based off the manga, which is then based off the anime. And now we have the game. The game is probably, I don't know if it's based on the anime or if it's based on the manga. Long story short, it started as a manga, became an anime, and now it's a game. And so this is something I had my eye on. It seemed like a pretty interesting game. I believe it was developed by Bandai Namco. I know it was published by them. They were promoting it last year at Comic-Con with a really big display. And I went to the world premiere of the Sandland movie, which was pretty cool. They held that at Comic-Con last year. And so this game, it says, heroes and vehicles from beyond your imagination. Embark on an epic adventure. Defeat enemies with mighty vehicles. Limitless customization awaits. So this is a game where you're rolling around in this like interesting looking battle tank in this desolate sand-like environment. I believe there's also a area called Forest Land that also is part of this game. And I don't know, it just sounds like kind of an open-ended game. Akira Toriyama's artwork, I absolutely love it. So for $20, when this was normally like a $60 game, I couldn't help but say, what the heck, why not? I will jump in for that price. Akira Toriyama is also the artist for the Dragon Quest series, and I will be talking more about that in a moment. So I did finish Dragon Age this past week, fully completed it, got the Platinum Trophy, all the story content done. Pretty much, I mean, I'm sure I missed some treasure chests along the way. You can't really go back completely to some areas, and like when you clear certain environments that are just there for a specific story segment, you can't go back to them any longer because of various reasons. Some of them due to the narrative, some of them due to just, I don't know, arbitrary developer decisions. So that was kind of annoying, but nothing, I don't think I missed anything too major. Like I said, just missed some treasure chests. Otherwise, I did every single quest. I got every single achievement. And so what are my final thoughts on the game? This is BioWare's first Dragon Age game in a decade. In between then and now, they'd only released, 2 other games. They released Mass Effect Andromeda, which was not well received. And then they released Anthem, which was another game not well received. Dragon Age kinda had a lot riding on it. Like, BioWare really needed a win here. And I think they got it to some extent. I do think there are some negative forces conspiring against it for whatever reason. Like, some people just want to be down on the series, like enough of the original creators aren't there anymore, or they're not happy with different lore decisions that were made. I don't know. To me, I'm just grateful we got more Dragon Age. Like, it had been so long. It's a series that was like truly beloved to me. Like in 2008 or 2009, we had the first Dragon Age Origins. 2 years later, in 2011, we had Dragon Age 2. And then 3 years later after that, in 2014, we had Dragon Age Inquisition. It was like, wow, Dragon Age is just on a roll. I'm loving it. I'm happy. And then I had to wait a decade for the next one. I believe the game is a very good game. Is it perfect? No. Has any Dragon Age game ever been perfect? No. There's always been one issue or another. And Dragon Age is a series that has always reinvented itself with every entry. Every entry has always tried to do something drastically different with the gameplay. Sometimes to success, sometimes to failure. And on top of that, sometimes they play with how the story, maybe player choices and things like that. And, you know, it doesn't always resonate perfectly with everyone. The first Dragon Age game, arguably, you know, the most perfect of them all, I guess you could say. Although that's not to say it isn't without its problems. But the second game chose a very, like, more hyper-local, small-scale story, whereas the first game is this very big, epic, world-spanning story. And then the third game kind of went back to that epic world-spanning story, but maybe the gameplay was a little lacking. It had all these big open environments that were kind of boring in a lot of cases. So, it's like they flung the needle back way too far. Whereas this new Dragon Age game, Dragon Age the Veilguard, kind of swings the needle back towards the beginning, but at the same time made some mistakes in terms of maybe scaling back player choices and player impact. I would say that's maybe the biggest downside to this game. So the Veilguard Dragon Age the Veilguard started as a game called Dragon Age Dreadwolf. It was originally going to be a multiplayer live service game. And you can see elements that they recycled or they carried over into this now fully single-player offline experience. I don't think they actually lost that much content. I think they used everything that they originally created for this multiplayer live service game. Hence why player choice is not really the hugest factor in this game. Essentially, there's like 4 or 5 points throughout the game where you make some kind of big choice that does have consequences. Now, unfortunately, that's not enough for a Dragon Age game. Dragon Age games are known for like every time you do a quest, you're tasked with making some kind of choice. And it's probably going to upset your companions. It's going to upset some NPC. It might even drastically affect the life of someone. Now, in Dragon Age the Veilguard, all of your companions, they're all very agreeable. Now, is it possible to gain disapproval with them? It certainly is. But ultimately, they're all very agreeable. There's rarely any conflict. People are always getting along. And in Dragon Age, you put together these parties. So you have, let's say you've unlocked all the companions that you can take on your adventure. And you're able to bring 2 to 3 of them with you when you go out to do different little quests and missions, right? So a lot of times, depending on who's in your party, it might be a harmonious group that gets along. It might be a contentious group who doesn't really get along and, doesn't agree with choices you make or choices that they're making with each other, or they just don't like each other, period. And so there's this banter in between missions while you're out and about and doing things. Everyone just gets along in this game. It's kind of, I get it. I understand why it is that way. Because it was a live service game, there couldn't really be some of these elements that, we're used to in a Dragon Age game. And I don't know, I feel like it did hold back Dragon Age, the Veilguard. Now, I still do believe that it's better to have this than to have nothing. 100%, I believe that with my whole heart. I would rather have the Veilguard than not have anything at all. I think if we get another Dragon Age, which we better, because if you do enough things correctly in the Veilguard, you unlock a secret epilogue video that kind of plays after the credits roll. And, it teases some pretty big stuff for a future game. So we better get a future game. But if we do get another Dragon Age game, I do hope from the very beginning it can be made as a single player, standalone offline game, because we won't have these little things that kind of held back the Veilguard from being the game it really could have been. So we don't really do reviews on the BitBeacon broadcast, and maybe I was sounding a little negative right now criticizing the game, but I'm just trying to explain why maybe people feel the way they do about the game and how that happened and why that happened. And I still think we got the better result. If the Veilguard ended up being a live service multiplayer game, we wouldn't even be thinking about the game anymore. It would have been dumped on so harshly. Whereas the game that we got is much better than whatever that would have been. And I'm grateful that it exists. And I'm grateful for all the writers. I'm grateful for the developers. And, I wish them the best of luck as they move on to the next Mass Effect game. But, I really hope that, all this negativity from people has not, soured EA or soured BioWare on ever coming back to the series. Sales are okay, from what it sounds like. They're not bad by any means. But, they're not setting the world on fire. So that's what worries me a little bit, because EA is ultimately the one greenlighting these games from BioWare. And I'm always concerned that EA is going to be like, nope, I don't care if you broke even. That's not enough. We need to make $1 gajillion. So I really hope that we see more Dragon Age in the future, because I can't wait another 10 years, man. If I have to wait 10 years for another Dragon Age game, I don't even know if I'm going to be around in 10 years. That's ridiculous. We used to get these games every 2 to 3 years, and now we have to wait a decade. Can't do it anymore, guys. I need another Dragon Age game within 5 years. That's the max I'm going to allow you guys to do this. If you don't do it, I'll just have to do it myself. Not sure what that means. So, wow, I talked a lot about Dragon Age, so I'm going to skip Genshin Impact. But what I did want to do with you all was I wanted to open my booster pack in Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket with y'all. So I turned off the music, but you're going to hear some sound effects. I don't want to get copyright striked, so I had to turn the music off. So here we go. It's time for me to open my evening booster pack. So I've got the Genetic Apex set, still the only set available. And I got the 3 different booster packs here. I'm going to open the Charizard booster pack. Now this does actually matter. So each booster pack, some of the cards are only available in the one that has Charizard on the cover, some that only are available in the Pikachu, and some that are only in the Mewtwo one. So that's very different from reality, where like it doesn't matter what the artwork is on the cover of your booster pack, as long as it's from that set, you have as equal chance of getting any of the cards in any booster pack. But with this one, there are some cards that do feature in all 3 of the different pack art packs, but some of them are only in one pack or one set or another, which I guess does give you the ability to sort of like target specific cards if you're chasing them. So I guess it's not maybe a bad thing, but I do kind of think it's a little bit annoying. Alright, so I've been presented with this 20 different Charizard booster packs facing me, and I'll just select a random one. Supposedly it doesn't matter which one you pick. And now I'm gonna slice open the top of the booster pack. Alright, so I got a set. Now these are like Japanese booster packs, so they only have 5 cards per booster pack. And now I got this stack of cards in front of me, and I can kind of move it around a little bit, and I can see the edges of the card, and I can see that I've got something good at the back of the booster pack here. There's some kind of EX or full art card here in the back. But my first card is a Gloom, so I'm going to swipe the Gloom. Okay, the next card is a Wooloo. That's the sheep Pokemon from Sword and Shield. I'm going to swipe that one. Then I got a Ducklet. I believe Ducklet is from Unova, the black and white era. It's a nice art. It's really nice art. Okay, then I got a Heatmore card. Not really a fan of this artwork. And then here we go. You guys ready for my shiny? Whoa! Okay. I got full art Alakazam, and unfortunately I already have this card, so it's not even new. But yes, got full art Alakazam, so that's exciting. Full art Alakazam, wonderful. Alright, got some points, got some experience for opening my pack, and that's it. So yeah, I have the majority of this set now, but I still, so there's a core set, and then there's full art that's sort of like a subset within the set. So I really want to focus on completing the main set, which I'm about, I want to say 30 or so cards away from being done with. But the amount of times I get a new card is getting really infrequent now, especially because I'm just opening the 2 free booster packs a day. So I'm lucky if I see 2 new cards a week at this point. Most of the cards I'm missing are holos and some EX cards. There are a handful of common and uncommon cards I still don't have from this set, but all I can do is keep opening the 2 free booster packs. So anyways, yeah, thanks for joining me on opening that booster pack. Event-wise, still just looking forward to the Game Awards. That's a couple weeks away. You got my predictions last week. I'm already regretting some of the choices I went with. I went with Metaphor, ReFantazio quite a bit, but I really think it's going to be leaning more towards Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Or it is Rebirth. But anyways, I locked in my choices, and we'll see how that goes when it goes. Alright, so let's jump into the news. So Sony is looking to beef up its Japanese business with a possible purchase of Kadokawa Corporation. News broke via Reuters on November 19th that the 2 businesses are in talks. Kadokawa Corporation is a holding company which owns dozens of companies ranging from anime, manga, and book publishing to live streaming video platform Nico Nico, and most notably for this podcast at least, a handful of major game publishers and developers. The first of the three developers that I wanted to mention here is Spike Chunsoft #1, who are known for games like Danganronpa and the Zero Escape series, but also serve as frequent partners for publishers like Nintendo on games like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, and they've also worked with Bandai Namco to develop the recently released Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Spike Chunsoft has a long history as well as being the original developer of the Dragon Quest series, which was published originally by Enix before Square and Enix merged. In the West, Spike Chunsoft serves as a publisher for their own games as well as for other studios, bringing games that would otherwise languish without an English release to shores beyond Japan. They also do the same for Japan, bringing Western games into the Japanese market. Kadokawa also owns Acquire, which they, funnily enough, only acquired earlier this year. Acquired is known for Tenchu, Shinobido, and the Way of the Samurai series. In recent years, they have proven to be a close partner of Square Enix and Nintendo as well, developing the Octopath Traveler games for Square Enix, and as I previously discussed, I think last week, they were the developer for the recently released Mario & Luigi Brothership. Finally, Kadokawa also owns a majority share in Armored Core, Elden Ring, and Dark Souls developer From Software, 69.66% to be exact. Funnily enough, Sony already owns a 14% stake in From Software, which would give them more than an 80% stake in From Software if this acquisition goes through. Sony and From Software have a history together, having co-developed games like Demon's Souls and Bloodborne. Many gamers are excited about the prospect of Sony owning From Software because they believe it could lead to a much anticipated but never so far materialized sequel for Bloodborne, the massive, huge game on PlayStation 4, which is like beloved universally. But as we've seen these past 2 years, these big mergers rarely result in much good news. Often these studios will see layoffs, project cancellations, and even outright studio closures. Unless Sony maintains a hands-off approach to Kadokawa, Spike Chunsoft, Acquire, and From Software could all suffer. Games might no longer target multiple platforms, instead they would just be PlayStation exclusives. Some studios would be forced to work on projects they may not be interested in. Like, you gotta wonder, why hasn't there been a Bloodborne sequel, right? Maybe From Software doesn't want to make a Bloodborne sequel. They're not interested in it. They want to work on other original things. So, and those third-party partnerships, those are probably gone too. Acquire and Spike Chunsoft, they might no longer be working for Bandai Namco, Nintendo, and Square Enix. So Kadokawa confirmed the report of Sony's interest in acquiring the company in the following statement on November 20th. The company has received an initial letter of intent to acquire the company's shares, but no decision has been made at this time. If there are any facts that should be announced in the future, we will make an announcement in a timely and appropriate manner. In the meantime, Kadokawa shares have increased in price by nearly 50%, from about 3,000 yen to 4,500 yen. The market is clearly signaling for the sale to go through, but it's possible Japanese regulators could get in the way as Sony starts looking more and more like a Japanese monopoly. Personally, I don't want to see this merger happen. I think it's bad for gamers. I think it's bad for Japanese companies. I think it's probably bad for the anime industry. Sony already now owns like a lot of streaming companies. They own Crunchyroll, which bought out they own Funimation, which bought out Crunchyroll, or the other way around. And so it's kind of a mess. Sony, I don't know what they're trying to do. I'm sure they look at people like Microsoft and think we're tiny compared to them. And maybe that's true. But I just don't know that it's a good idea to let Sony turn into Japan's Microsoft or Korea's or Japan's Samsung. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know, regulators in Japan have a chance to maybe say, hey, this is too little, this is too far, like let's scale things back, chill out. Like if you were maybe just acquiring The game companies, maybe, they might let that through. Like, that makes sense. That's part of your business already. But I don't know. Sony's gone kind of a little power hungry, it feels like. I don't know where they got all this money, but they must have a lot of money. And I do wonder how much they would be paying to acquire all of Kanekawa shares. That would be something to learn. But we will know more probably. Maybe before the end of the year, this could be a done deal, or they could announce their intent if it does need to go through regulatory processes. We'll see. All right, let's move on to something different. Microsoft is about to kill your avatar. In 2006, Nintendo launched the Nintendo Wii, and with it came these peculiar player avatars known as Miis, M-I-I. It wasn't long before competitors launched their own version of Miis. Sony, they launched PlayStation Home, which was their own virtual world where players could customize avatars, and Xbox launched something a little less ambitious, just known as Xbox Avatars. Microsoft allowed gamers to create a cartoonish version of themselves and dress them in various clothes and accessories. But integration was never super strong on Xbox. It was okay on Xbox 360. There were a lot of games that could import your avatars. Not quite on the level of Nintendo, but still, I want to say there was some Doritos racing game and other various games where you could use your avatar in some capacity. I think the Kinect games also took decent advantage of that as well. But long story short, since the Xbox 360, avatars have been around, and, there hasn't really been much taking advantage of them from either Microsoft or any of their third-party partners. While in Nintendo's ecosystem, Miis are still thriving and usable in a number of games. On Nintendo Switch, on Nintendo Wii, on Nintendo Wii U, on Nintendo 3DS, the Miis are thriving. Microsoft, however, cites a lack of engagement from gamers with the Avatar system app as for the reason why the Avatars app will be removed from Xbox One, Xbox One X, Xbox Series S, and Xbox Series X. On January 9th, 2025, Microsoft will remove the feature from Xbox and refund any Avatar-related cosmetic purchases from November 1st of 2023 to January 9th of 2025. Tough luck if you purchase an Xbox Avatar items prior to those dates. Those purchases are going down and they're never coming back, and you're not getting a refund. So really, this is all about money. Microsoft creates a modern version of the Avatars app, does nothing with them, aside from create some clothing and cosmetics gamers can purchase, and now since it's no longer generating revenue, they're just going to kill the whole thing. It doesn't matter if you liked it, doesn't matter if you used it, it's going to be gone, and your money's going to be gone, your purchases are going to be gone, you're not even going to be able to use it. Take a screenshot of that stuff while you can, because it's going away. It's just really brilliant from them. So gamers have some thoughts on the removal of avatars, and they're kind of all over the place, and I want to read a few examples to you. So our first comment is from Markatron84. He says, avatars were a waste of time from day one. Honestly, if it means Microsoft will focus on something less useless, then bin them off. Must be from the UK or something. Elbow says, I was looking at what Nintendo was doing at the time with the Miis. The 3DS was still around at that point, and hoping Xbox was going to compete with that. And wow, my expectations were way too high for the absolute nothingness Xbox had planned for them. LX Phoenix says, they can't just leave it alone and leave it at that. This is just like with Xbox Fitness. It's not enough for them to stop supporting something. They have to take it away from people who actually like it. I don't use the new avatars, but it's completely wrong to do that to people who actually do use them. Frag Slayer says, it has low engagement because you people at Xbox have buried the feature and gave it nothing to be used on. Unlike 360, where we had virtual theaters, plenty of games, and later Xbox Kinect. You're letting Xbox become as corporate as the parent company. There is a small silver lining to this whole story, though, and it's that the original Xbox 360 Avatar app will continue to be available after January 9th, since a number of backwards compatible games do rely on the app to remain functional. But the modern Xbox avatar system that started on Xbox One, a decade ago at this point, will be going away. All the money you've spent, unless it's been within the last year or so, is gonna be gone. Like it's just evaporating, just like any other digital game. This one is perplexing though. It's like, why not? We just won't add any more items to it. And I don't know, can't we find a way to like desynchronize it from the server or something and make it so it doesn't have to tie to the store backend and just be like, hey, here it is if you want to use it. But yeah, it's true. Like there's no games on the current consoles that use this feature. And that's Microsoft's own fault. They're either not pushing it enough to internal developers, they themselves aren't using it in any meaningful way. It's literally just so you can make a little avatar icon for your account, and that's it. Just absolute, just badness. So badong. Badong means bad wrong, in case you were wondering. Alright, one more quick story for you all. It's becoming more and more common to hear about a new big AAA studio closing down a few years after its founding without having ever released a game. Sadly, today is no exception. I don't know why I'm having trouble speaking today. Humanoid Origin, founded by Mass Effect Trilogy creator and director Casey Hudson, is shutting down. Located in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, the same place as his old company, BioWare, Humanoid Origin Studios was founded in June of 2021 and has been in pre-production on an unannounced new science fiction intellectual property since then. The following message was posted on Humanoid Origin's LinkedIn page earlier today. And then he says, earlier today, we informed our staff that Humanoid Origin will be shutting down. Despite efforts to shield the studio from broader challenges in this industry, an unexpected shortfall of funding left us unable to sustain operations. We're heartbroken that we will not be able to bring our new science fiction universe to completion. Our main concern at this time, however, is for our team, and we are committed to supporting them in their transition to new employment. In our time together, the team achieved incredible progress and demonstrated that it's possible to do amazing work while fostering a culture of fun and creativity. We thank them for their talent, courage, and friendship. Thank you to everyone who supported us throughout our journey. So prior to this note, their last post on LinkedIn was 6 months earlier when they shared a listing of several job positions at the company. I can't imagine getting a job 6 months ago there, founded by the legendary creator Casey Hudson, only to find out that your company didn't actually have money to pay employees for very much longer. The game industry is in really tough shape out there when Casey Hudson can't secure funding for his next big idea. This guy's basically like, to some people, he's the North American Hideo Kojima. Like, it's kind of crazy. Even Kojima might have issues. When he founded his studio before the pandemic, he had the luxury of just a different world back then. And now, post-pandemic, it's really rough out there. One thing's for certain, though, is that the folks at Humanoid Origin will certainly be spending more time with their loved ones this holiday season since they won't be at work. And on that note, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. End transmission.